I'm going to recap some trades I've made this week. I haven't watched the market much because I haven't had much time. So taking advantage of the fact that I've made few trades, I'm going to show you all of them at once. Well, we start from this day, the 24th, and the price around here made all this rise. Already around here, I saw that it took out the highs. This high right here. I saw that it took this out, that it had several rejections around here. There was a 1 hour imbalance. So, from there, I started my trading. What's the first thing I notice? That the price tried to make a new high but failed. Failed to make a new high. And around here, and the moment it fails, it begins a range. Why? Because we are neither breaking this high, nor did it bounce here, and it didn't break this sort of origin of this move that is not yet an actual origin in a higher time frame, because you already know that for us to consider an origin, it must have set a new high and broken a structure. Otherwise, it's an origin at risk of being taken when it fails to set a new high. So here comes the first trade I made. Around here, I saw this area where the price leaves us this. Here it rejects the low. So what narrative do I have here? That this low was the first touch to this area, and it gave a continuation within this current order flow. Therefore, this rejection is the second touch, and we have the double bottom, which should, according to the system functions, give a strong move. And if we come with all this bullish movement, one would expect that from there, the said continuation would occur. Right? But it fails to do that, and it takes out all these areas. This area that was also validated with this touch, it takes out all those areas. So it's invalidating the possibility from the touch and the double floor. The bearish is failing to fulfill the bullish. It is failing to fulfill its function. So already I have this area, and in turn, this rejection and this tap I can consider as a first touch to this area, and in turn we can see that it is respecting a small fractal responsible here. There is a small bullish candle here of its world, and since we have nothing else, simply fractals, well, this was that last accumulation before breaking this low. So the price came to it and respected it constantly. So the bullish rejection failed to take the high this, and the complete pattern failed as well. So the price is cancelling the possibility that a bullish setup is working. So now, at the moment it reaches this 50, I try to take a failure and set a new high. Sometimes I anticipate. Sometimes I take the internal fractals like this. That here, there is a candle that went down, went up. I set the sell stop to all of this, like to the last of the fractal, where this candle went down and gave continuation. If we see it from a fractal point of view of temporalities, here there is a hidden SND to which the price came and continued upwards in this small movement. So I set a sell stop here and there. It activated my order. It is an anticipated order that I sometimes make that gives me a few extra points that I gain to the break of the low. And when I manage to grab, well, this operation also favors me to be more aggressive with the break. Even otherwise, when I do it with a low, sometimes I have to wait for it to make a pullback. So well, it activated me there before breaking.
He came and built a double roof, which, if we look at it from the point of view of it being a 10, for those who like stoic, well, this would be the 4. Let's see. It's the first time I'm using this on this platform. How would this be 4? Or this is here. This would be 4. And this would be 5. And now, because there's no... Well then, here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 to complete. It would be around here. So, I use my stop loss with, if I have the possibility of at least 10 points, I use 10 points and leave some breathing room, and if not, with the area I am working with from here. But when I take a failure in a swing, I usually give it a bit extra so the price can breathe. So, well, I activate, go into drawdown to make another swing, and from there, if it starts to go, and that's it. Here, I see it touches this area, it has a quick reaction, and that's when I close the order. Then here, this purchase. We touch this. We touch this. What's special about this? Well, wait. Let me check here in 5 seconds. It will be like the last fractal. Before breaking something over here, then it was in a minute that this was the one I didn't take. I was confused. This, in a minute, was the one responsible for taking this out here. But this was already after. This was already later. This one, I didn't get to take. So, well, we touch this area over here. And what happens? How do I see it as a potential AMD? We already left the range we were in, and I put a buy stop up here. Above this. Why? Because here is the responsible one, and in turn, here is the fractal from which that responsible one is created. So the fractal is validated internally, and the person responsible for breaking this down is then another buy stop that I usually do without necessarily waiting for the high to be taken. So it activates there, comes back around here, like to this last accumulation it did. Since there was no other important fractal in all this, this part is like where there was more volume, more contrast, struggle of sides, more bear fights with bulls, and the bulls ended up winning. Then he came to test this, and from there, it started going.
Already around here, I didn't like that he was reacting to this. This matched with 50%, like from many areas of the big one, from this around here. I waited to see how he reacted here. It kept going, and already around here, I ended up closing the order. They were two quick scalps of 10 points. This day, the 24th, I think my next trade this day was at the close. Yes, the last 10 minutes of the market that we have here.
Which is all of this an accumulation, right? We have that accumulation, and I
initially aimed for this. That's why I ended up closing here and not here. I wanted the price to reach this point. It was like my accumulation target. The area that started all of this from its 30%. It had 50% unmitigated. And that was my goal in those last minutes of closing. What's happening? Why did I take it? Because the price comes from the accumulation. We can see here in a minute. It comes from the accumulation, with bodies, with displacement. As long as I'm in accumulation, and continue to have highs or lows, but with simple wicks and rejections, I consider that we are still in accumulation. When the price moves out with displacement, that's when I look for confirmation to go in the opposite direction. So it comes out of accumulation. I see that they are still not the I-50, the 3 I-50, which is my work of interest. But I see that the price has already made it a tap in this area. This area here up to 50%. Why this area? Due to fractality, I know that there are multiple 5-second areas here. It's just that from 5 seconds, I already see what's in other time frames. But for those who are learning, you can zoom out and look from higher time frames. Look, in 5 minutes the area looks super clean. In 1 minute, you still have to apply some fractality to not get lost. But in a simple way, what do I see?
I see that the price makes a low, a high, a low, and
a low. Then my eyes are actually seeing how far the price went and started to retrace. That will be the point I'll look for, to break, in order to consider a complete area. I don't get lost with these areas, that the price starts forming in an intermediate way. So, well, that's why I see this whole area where the price reached. Then I saw the I-50, this rejection from the high again, which I like. I like seeing how it reacted again there. I would have liked this first touch to have been the C50, and I would have entered more aggressively. And well, here the price tried to make some moves, so I positioned aggressively, something similar to what I told you earlier. I anticipate before it breaks the low. On this occasion, it went against me, and I placed it at the last fractal where this price movement started. I put it right below, and it activated to the tick. If I had placed it at the actual low, the delivery would have been immediate. But well, it was a pretty ugly close. So it stayed here for several minutes until the next algorithmic hour came, the 55-minute mark, and then it made the move I was expecting. This had already gone over 20 points, but I didn't close it. My target was here,
and seeing how it reacted, I then trailed. Stop. Then here, seeing that it was touching like imbalance and started to fall again, it made this bullish candle. Seeing that it started to fall from that bullish candle, then I placed my aggressive stop there because I'm anticipating a possible failure to set a low, which means that we can go up. Then it stops me out, comes and rejects the low, and there it starts to go up again. So well, that was the day. Let's go to the next one. Well, this day I had problems with the data. Oh no. This is the opening gap. I'm gonna show you the day in which... Yes. Oh no. Yes. This is the day I had problems with the data. It wasn't showing me anything at the opening. So I simply did nothing and came back later. So this was the Wednesday trade.
Why so aggressive?
I'm going to show you from over here.
Prices went up, yes, I'm not wrong. I had already taken something from a higher time frame, or had touched something over there daily. I don't know. I don't remember well, but it was not really necessary, because what mattered was the price action we had here.
The price was leaving multiple 1-minute imbalances. It tested this one in 5 minutes, left this one, which is the imbalance we have when breaking here.
A breakout, imbalance and continuation. But in 5 minutes we also had this one around here, and there was a small one here. What happens is that the price stayed so long around here that
it also allowed for a 15-minute one.
And then we already had two things there. A 5-minute imbalance and the 15-minute one. We had all that there like
Confluence.
And what's the other one? The key to what I've told you is when the price reaches a point where it creates an area, and from there it starts to do this. The price makes a push, creates an area, and from then on it starts to do this. This is in one of the previous reviews where I talk about when Asia makes a particular move that I showed you several examples of, even from the past. It comes and liquidates everything and then leaves again. So it's something similar. The price usually leaves an imbalance around here. And it usually comes to find that extreme. And from there starts a new cycle. Takes out all of this that it generated. And from there starts a new cycle. So that's what I was waiting for.
I could easily place a limit in the imbalance because I was really confident in the setup, but I let the price reach, let it reach, and this candle arrived. Then it fell, touching 50% of both the 5-minute and 15-minute imbalances.
And it touched this area too. In fact, it managed to break it by a tick. So it took out all those areas. And it had already returned to the higher time frame range. This is another thing. This is basic, like having a high that becomes support. Something simple. This usually causes a reaction, because this is usually a higher time frame candle, 4 hours, even daily. So when the price moves away from that candle and comes back here again, it usually gives some reaction. There is also sometimes a breaker, which in this case didn't give us any movement around here, so we don't consider it a breaker, but it's a sensitive point of price reaction. So all those factors came together there, and that's why I took a trade from here and not from any of these other areas. There was one around here that gave good reactions, but you can see that the price takes the first touches and then reacts. Takes the first touch from this area and reacts, and over here it takes, well, from this whole area in general. This was like a first touch that didn't even reach 30% of this. But it takes this, and internally, it takes this first touch. Here it gives another reaction. The price makes these bounces, but the point of interest was where these imbalances were pending, to remove all this accumulation that had been building over there. So nothing. The price reached, touched the imbalances, gave this immediate bullish reaction. So like in the 3D AMD video, I showed you with a 5-minute imbalance. As soon as I saw the reaction, I entered without thinking into the market. So here I did the same. I entered on this candle after it dropped, reacted, then dropped again. But well, from there the price started to go up. It took a lot of time around here, and seeing that we had already entered close to the origin of this move, I closed. It was a good decision because it kept dropping. I think that was the only one of the day too. So let's go to the next one. Let's see. Around here I didn't do more. Or did I? No. And that's it for today. Hey, let's see. What had I marked? I think this was the 5-minute imbalance that I missed. Oh no. I don't really know what this was. The 5-minute imbalance that I missed was this one here. I wanted to enter this short. That was the only imbalance here. After having done all this accumulation, there was no more. And this one didn't have to be. This is an imbalance that generally in ICT, one doesn't expect to be touched. It usually happens when there is a complete change in the state of price delivery and a divergence. So it is an imbalance that remains like that. So I wanted to make this entry, but I missed it, because when I finally checked the price, the movement was already too developed. But it was nice to see that the price reached the imbalance. It even reached the person responsible for this area. Then they go to set a new high, take out the low, test the area, and it keeps going. Then here, someone is responsible for taking this out from here. So this becomes the area responsible for taking this out, which makes the price come back here and keep falling. Then it leaves this person responsible for taking out the low, goes back to them, and keeps falling. From what I saw, the price movement was beautiful. I saw the community sharing their analyses, their trades, and they did great. I'm very glad to see that they are also understanding the price well. So anyway, the price arrived here, and there was, oh well, I think that was exactly what I had marked here. I can't manage to close this imbalance.
If it was this, or it didn't get there, I can't manage to close this imbalance. It tested this area, which is like the only area I would consider from this whole movement that I usually don't consider when the price goes up like this. It's the same as when it goes down like this. I usually don't consider it. So I saw that it reached that more potential area, failed to break the responsible, and we didn't close the imbalance. So over here, I wanted to enter a short. I was protecting with a responsible. Over here, if I'm not wrong, there was a first touch, and still I was expecting the sweep of that to happen, and then it would go. So I was calm on that side, but I didn't like how the price started to reject the lows, even though it wasn't fulfilling the functions or rejections. And once it took this one out from here, and I see this rejection again once and for all. Very poor. Someone came to get me out, just to test the responsible one, who would be managing this whole area of getting us out of here. And there he did leave. But still, I wouldn't have completed the target, because I was aiming for more. So I waited for the price to return.
Over here it started to be taken out.
All this. That doesn't interest me, because it's very similar to what I mentioned here. And there is where the movement begins. The price rejected this low. The rejection didn't come to fulfill its function. And then it gets here. This point is very important. Why? Because the price, in a way, made a small tap to this area. We could say that something here is validated, whether it's this whole area or this small fractal, there's something here. So, the fact that the price arrives, tries to make a double bottom, and doesn't do it, on the contrary, ends up taking all that out, gives me an indication that there are still targets below. So I wait for the price to come and take out this first tap to this area, where the price in this time frame changes structure, and I make the entry with a self-stop below the responsible one. I don't take this one here, because it already wicked by a tick. It already wicked by a tick. And this one has something I like. It is at 50% of this. So, why do I usually like a self-stop here? Because I make sure that this 50%, which is usually so powerful, it won't make a move against me, unlike when I set a sell stop for a responsible party around here. It takes it out and comes, hits the 50 and reacts against me. So, I like this one. And if this one ends up going quite well, see that the price after making the touch makes a first rejection. The rejection fulfills its function, which is to come and take out the low of that displacement law that led us to make that new high. All this here. And the price tries to make a double bottom. But it fails. The double bottom fails. And in turn, we fail to set a new high. This is the first confirmation of the order flow examples video, where I give you the 4 confirmations that price is making to identify a change in the order flow and what the price is doing. So, I didn't want to put a sell stop there. It would have still been a good trade. And I wanted to make sure with this one,
I mean 20. 7 points. I end up giving a bit more. But those are the trades I've taken this week.
But look at how nice it is to wait. You see that all my trades have the same logic behind them, the same logic I explain in my videos.
I don't change anything. I don't start chasing prices. I don't enter where I shouldn't. I don't fight with my own system. I simply read the price, identify that it does something that seems familiar to me, that I've seen before, that my intuition tells me, I've seen this before, and from there, I take the risk. I take the risk of entering, executing, and it allows me to have a pretty good success rate. So I hope this helps you. I still need to make the video request you asked for, which I really liked about backtesting. So that's the next thing I'll be uploading when I have some time.